campers, and welcome to week 6 of BU. I'm co-hosting today with Delta. Hi, Delta.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm excited to talk to you. You've been the behind the scenes BU person all summer, but today we're putting you in front of the camera and on the podcast.
No pressure, huh?
No pressure. So before we introduce this week's BU concept and challenge, I thought this would be a good time. We're halfway through. We've done 5 weeks of BU. We're just going to quickly go back through the challenges that we've done so far. So I'm going to share my screen here, which if you're listening to the podcast, you won't be able to see this. But if you're watching the video version of this, you'll be able to see as we talk through the BU challenges. So Delta, why don't you share about our very first challenge?
Yeah, so our very first one was BU, You're One of a Kind. And this was kind of stemmed off, there's a wonderful song out there called Just Be You. It's by Anthem Lights. And we do in the GAC office, we do guitar lessons, and it's something we're learning. So it's something we've kind of grown to love, that song as a whole. But just kind of being you, what do you like best about yourself? And that was the challenge. So really kind of taking time to look at yourself. What do you like best? Sometimes it's easier for us to see the things we don't like so much about ourselves and focus on the negatives. It's a lot, those come to us a lot quicker. We don't take the time to really think of like, wow, I really like this about myself. And it's really important that we do that. So just noticing that you as a person, you are one of a kind. You have so much to give to your friends. You have so much to give to your family, society, the world. So just taking the time to really see those, what traits you have that are really unique and what you can kind of offer to everyone.
That was such a good summary of that was our first week. And then our next week was about finding your flow. And this is a concept from the field of positive psychology. And everyone knows, you might not have a word for it, but you have that idea of things that when you're doing them, you are having so much fun, or you're so engaged that like time just goes by really fast. So sometimes it's like a crafting kind of project. Sometimes it could be like making up a dance with friends. It can really be anything. People are all different in where they find their flow. But the week 2 challenge was to think about what are activities that get you into flow. And we were hoping too that you would also be thinking about activities you might want to try to see if you get into flow, especially if you haven't felt like you've been feeling that way much lately. So that was the week 2 BU challenge, was finding flow. Delta, why don't you talk about?
Yeah, week 3 was what stresses you out, what calms you down. So this week we focused on finding those things that really do stress us out and finding coping strategies, calming strategies, so that when we do face these stresses, we know how to handle them. It's really important to know how to bring yourself kind of down from a stressful situation, what makes you feel good, what makes you happy. We have different, suggestions on how to do that. And the challenge was to, think of some calming strategies that you practice, maybe writing those down so that when you do find yourself in a stressful situation, you're able to kind of go to this list and find one of those strategies that you know work best for you.
That's a really important thing. Adults and kids all need to work on this one, because there's a lot of extra things stressing us out this year. And so it's a really good time to start thinking about ways that make us feel better. I know one for me is just listening to music, and I know a lot of people have that too. We've had a lot of fun listening to the new Taylor Swift album this week, and that's been kind of a fun, it's a good calming one. All right. So week 4 was based on my favorite quote, "Comparison is the thief of joy." And it talks about how we really want to focus on appreciating others and not comparing ourselves, because everyone's so different. And this one, Chelster and I talked about it, and we just talked about how even on a team, it's actually really important that everybody's different and brings their different strengths to the whatever it is you're doing, the project. And so the challenge was focusing on what you appreciate about others and thinking of it more as an appreciation than as a comparison. And it's a really good practice we talked earlier, week 1 was, what do you like about yourself? This one was, what do you appreciate about others? So that was week 4. And then our most recent one, week 5. Why don't you talk about that one, Delta?
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned that was one of your favorite quotes in week 4. This is one of my favorite quotes in week 5. The theme was building others up. So Kid President, I think, said it best when he said, be somebody who makes everybody feel like a somebody. So this is really focusing. I know Catavi was with us for this one, which was really fun, but focusing on bringing out those really good traits in other people, your friends, people you just maybe randomly meet, your family members. So the challenge was, what can you do to build up a friend? And so I know I was scrolling the other day through Instagram, and I had congratulated a friend on something, and somebody commented on it like, oh, I love to see friends building each other up. And so I thought about this, and it was really nice. It makes you feel good when you're able to make others feel good. So this was kind of the focus on that one.
So, so good. Okay, so this week I'm really excited to have you with me, because this is one I know that that we've talked a lot. I know you've talked a lot with your junior counselors and the other kids that you've worked with at camp. So week 6, the BU concept and challenge is about how we talk to ourselves. So it's we're talking about is positive self-talk, and I found this really great book. It's called Being Me, a Kid's Guide to Boosting Confidence and Self-Esteem. But it talks about how we all kind of know that the way we think changes how we feel and also our behavior. And so, like, to be more confident, you have to kind of change the way you think about, yourself. So when you think about how, like, the words that you hear and the words that you say every day, how many do you think, Delta, are to other people versus to yourself? I don't really know the ratio, but when you think about it, like when you're thinking about talking, like how much do you think of your words are really just to yourself?
Probably more than half, are to yourself. I think about the differences between positive talk and negative talk too, though. I think more of the negative is to and about ourselves, and the positive comes out to and about others. And so I think that's why this week is really important, and kind of not reversing that. We don't want to talk negatively, but we want to bring that kind of inner as well, so that we change those kind of negative internal self-talking to positive self-talk. So, but probably over half, I would say, you kind of are saying to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And I think I always think about how, there's all this like curriculum in school about like anti-bullying and like
Mhm.
being kind to others and being a good friend and all these things. But oftentimes we're doing that to others, but not to ourselves. So to ourselves, sometimes we kind of bully ourselves.
Yeah.
Like we say mean things to ourselves, like something like, oh, that was so stupid. I can't believe I
Yeah.
just did that. Instead of say like how we would talk to a friend who made a mistake. I always think about that. So like if I, did poorly on a test, what would you say to me as my friend? Like what's an
Right.
example of that? Like if I did something badly, like what would you as my friend say to me?
Yeah, I would just say like, oh, you may have thought you did, poorly on this test. Maybe you did better than you think, or there's always next time, all these positive things. But of course, to yourself, you'd be like, this is the end of all
Yeah.
good grades as we know it, right?
Yeah, we
It'll never be the
catastrophize.
same.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that's part of it is, and I think our quote for this week hopefully is something about like treat yourself the way you would treat a friend or something like that. Talk to yourself the way you talk to your friends. And I think that's
Yeah.
really an important concept. And it's really hard. It's a hard habit to get out of because it comes more naturally, like you said, to look in the mirror and like focus on, the one big zit on our chin rather
Yes.
than our smile, even though our friends are more likely to notice our smile or, something else about us. We're more likely to focus in on the thing we don't like. So positive self-talk, there's a few other ideas in here. It just talks about how, the self-talk you do in your own head, the talking to yourself can help or hurt you. So, and they have some suggestions here about, kind of giving yourself an internal pep talk. So, like, what would that look like? What are some of the things that you could be telling yourself, like before you start something new? What could be an internal pep talk that would be a positive way to talk to yourself?
Yeah, I think just like reassuring yourself, like I can do this. This might be scary. Yeah, those are good feelings. That's an okay feeling to have, but you can get through this. Making new friends is fun. Meeting new people is a good way to expand your friendships and kind of show off your good traits to other people. So just kind of saying all these, really positive things like you said, you would tell your friends, but you're not necessarily telling yourself before going into a situation.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about this, Delta, is by being more positive with yourself, you actually can change the outcome. So, like, if you are saying to yourself, "Oh, I'm so bad at meeting new people," you are more likely to go into a situation and not meet very many new people. But
Right,
if
be
you
closed off.
say, yeah, you're kind of closed off because you've told yourself, and then your brain is thinking, oh, I'm not good at that. But if you say, something that I really want to work on is getting better at meeting new people. It's something I'm working on. You kind of like give yourself encouragement, like you can do it. This is the day you're going to go and you're going to smile and you're going to be really friendly and you're
Yeah.
going to meet some new people. So you're like, give yourself this pep talk instead of kind of giving yourself negative labels or kind of global things that really aren't true, about you.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little goal too. Like when I go to this new event, I'm going to meet someone new, and so like without kind of setting it as like a quote unquote goal, you're just telling yourself like, okay, just like meet one new person. Like, but in meeting one person, you're more than likely going to meet more than one person, just between networking and talking and things like that. So, but I did want to mention the quote for this week because we use Jamie Lee Curtis quote, who is a GAC alumni. The more I like me, the less I want to pretend to be other people. So really focusing on really liking yourself because it's important to like yourself. You're going to radiate that around everyone that you're around. And if you're kind of negative self-talking or you're not feeling like you like yourself much, that's going to show to other people. And it's, that's going to emanate from that.
So the challenge this week is to think about how you can be more positive in the way you talk to yourself. And it could be as simple as coming up with just like a mantra or a little phrase. And it could be just like a pep talk kind of thing. It's like, you can do this, or um, you can't do this yet, but you're learning. Like our growth mindset thing, we always talk about adding the word yet before we
Yeah.
say, like, whenever we say, oh, I am terrible at math. Instead, you say, I'm still learning math, or I don't know algebra yet. Like it's just changing that one word flips your brain where you're like, okay, yeah, no, I'm still growing. I'm still working on this.
Right. Yeah.
So do you have any mantras or things that you like as like pep talks, Delta?
Um, I think like sometimes I'm a fairly outgoing person, so and I like meeting new people, but sometimes I get in situations where I'm like, oh gosh, I don't really, I don't want to, I don't know, be in this situation. I don't want to have to like go out and meet new people necessarily. I think that's kind of the introvert part that comes out a little bit, but when I do, I'm just like, you know what? This will be fun. I always tell myself this will be fun. You'll meet new people. I love making friends. So I'm like, if anything, you're going to make new friends today. So just some of those things I just kind of tell myself in my head, like, this will be fun. You're going to meet new people. These people can be your friends. So that's kind of, I don't know that I have necessarily a mantra, but just kind of things I tell myself.
We should come up with some pep talk
Yeah, that would be
mantras and put
fun.
them in the blog post this week, because then it can
Okay,
give
yeah.
people ideas. Just even just like saying, you know what, I'm an awesome person. I'm great just the way I am, or I'm a good friend, or I really work hard at things. Even just thinking about some of those things you like about yourself.
Like I tell my campers, like when you think about something you want to say about yourself, think to yourself, would I say this to my friend? Because if you wouldn't say this to your friend, then you don't need to say it to yourself. Um, that's just part of that positive self-talk of just like, if I'm
Yeah.
not going to say it to my friend, I don't need to say it to myself because it's not going to benefit me.
Yeah.
So
So it's like kind
maybe
of
we
like
can mention that.
be kind to
Yeah,
myself, be kind, to myself,
exactly.
be
Yeah.
nice to me. Um,
Yeah.
even if you have to say to yourself, oh, that wasn't a nice thing to say to yourself. Do you know what I mean? Just acknowledging it. I think just being more aware is really helpful, because if we speak more positively to ourselves, we are going to change how we act and how the world perceives us too. So it's a really
Yes.
cool thing about being our best self, is really acknowledging and being nicer to ourselves.
Yes. And it's something that, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do. It definitely takes work to talk positively about yourself because, we know ourselves best, right? So we know the things that we need to work on. We know the things we need to focus on. We know the things we're good at. We know the things we're bad at, or, quote unquote bad at. So it's so much easier for us to focus on those negatives. And since we do know ourselves the best, we do need to focus on making sure we're happy and that we're happy with who we are. And that is where that positive self-talk comes in. And then the more happy we are with ourselves, that'll emanate to everyone else.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, well, thanks for joining me this week, Delta. This is
Yeah,
going to be
this was so
this is a
fun.
little bit longer than our usual BU, but I thought it was a good time halfway through to just kind of recap what we've learned so far. And then why don't you remind everyone about where they can, like, how they can hashtag everything and that kind of stuff too, if they want to be like talking about BU in community with other GACers.
Yeah, if you are on social media, definitely if you have pictures from camp or, you're writing maybe another blog somewhere about being you, we are using hashtag GAC, GAC in all capital letters, BU in lowercase. And then if you tag us in that, we'll be able to see those. Tag at Gold Arrow Camp in your stories and things like that, and we'll be happy to kind of reshare those. It's really fun seeing everyone kind of share their BU things throughout this summer that we couldn't be together, but everyone's still kind of having the GAC spirit, which has been really fun.
And I'd love to hear everybody's positive self-talk mantras or phrases or things that you're trying to remind yourself to say to yourself. Like you could even put it on a sticky note on your mirror so that as you're brushing your teeth, you're repeating it, that kind of thing. That would be fun to see those in the on pictures and things.
Yeah, and we'll put it in the story this week. You guys can share your positive self-talk, and we'll share those with others. Maybe it'll encourage others to use that same phrase or something similar with themselves. So,
All right. Thanks so much for joining us this
thank
week for
you.
GAX BU. We'll see you next week with another BU
Bye.
challenge.